Welcome to King County Metro's RideshareOnline.com basic training. I am Kaylin Henley, a planner with Alta Planning and Design. I'm currently the Assistant Project Manager for King County Metro's School Pool program, where we work with cities and schools to help students travel to school using active and shared modes. I'm joined by Jason Halverson, who will guide you through this training. Jason is a transportation planner with King County Metro who also coordinates the support team for RideshareOnline.com. Jason will begin with a 30-minute presentation, followed by time for questions and answers. As you think of questions, please just chat them in the chat box, which you can find on the right of your screen. You can select to send the question to all participants or specifically to hosts, which includes me, Jason, and Francisco, our Alta IT rockstar. For other housekeeping items, please know that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the King County Metro website for future reference. However, your questions in the chat box will not be recorded as a part of the recording on the screen, so don't hesitate to ask any questions that you were wondering. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us. Feel free to chat your name and affiliation in the chat box right now to share with others in attendance, just so we know who's all here. And with that, I will hand it over to Jason.
All right, thank you, Kaylin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's basic orientation for network administrators in RideshareOnline.com. Here's our agenda for what we will be covering today. We will go fairly quickly, but as Kaylin mentioned, this webinar is being recorded and will be available as a resource. Additionally, support resources will be provided at the end of the presentation if you have questions about anything covered or if some terminology is new for you. The basic orientation is a foundation for the additional incentive management and school pool orientations. After today, you'll be familiar with the site interface, networks, users, and reports. Tomorrow's incentive management orientation will cover how to boost non-SOB and RSO usage through rewards, incentive programs, and drawings. And the school pool orientation is tailored for school districts and PTAs to help reduce congestion at schools. One note about users in today's orientation, that refers to end users of the site, typically commuters and people recording trips on the calendar. So RSO is the state's largest site for finding a carpool or vanpool, also known as a rideshare. It's also a powerful CTR and TDM tool. So what exactly is that? A system that helps networks support and promote non-SOB, non-drive alone behavior. So in addition to helping users find a rideshare, trip calendars allow them to record non-SOB trips, keep track of savings. Administrators can offer incentives and rewards for eligible trips. It's a communication platform, a reporting tool, and much more. RSO regularly goes through major updates. Some examples are going mobile friendly back in 2016, enhanced administrator functionality in 2018, a new streamlined, simplified user interface last summer, and allowing the site to function in English or Spanish. In addition to major updates, the site also undergoes routine performance updates several times throughout the year. The administrator view, as we go through today, is different than the user view you may be familiar with. So here are a couple things to remember. Navigation happens through the header at the top of the screen. You simply select each header to visit that section: benefits, challenges, users, etc. While you're in the system as an administrator, do not use the browser back or forward buttons, as depending on where you're at, those may sign you out of the system. Before we start talking about the first agenda item of networks, one last thing to talk about is widgets. These are quick access tools for users to access information from the system without having to sign in. These widgets are connected to RSO data, so they're always current. There's no requirement for network administrators to do anything to use the widgets. And the two most common ones, which we'll look at today, are the Vanpool Seat Finder and the Network Vanpool Lists. As this slide shows, the Vanpool Seat Finder allows users to put in an address and find all matching Vanpools. Once that list shows up, they can filter for Vanpools that are only looking for riders. And once they have their results, they can search the list. For example, if they want to look for a specific destination, an employer, or work hours. If you are a network administrator for an employer organization, you can post a link on your company intranet to promote Vanpools that show similar results to the Vanpool Seat Finder, but will only be for Vanpools going to your organization, such as this Boeing example you see on the screen here. Similar to the Seat Finder, you can look for Vanpools that are only looking for riders. You can export the list to Excel for additional filtering or reporting. And there's a unique feature with the Vanpool list that allows administrators and employers to toggle between a Vanpool list and a map view. To do that, you simply select the map view, and the list is replaced with a zoomable map that allows employers and administrators to zoom in to a specific work site. Here in the lower left, we see 119 groups in the Seattle area that, as we zoom in, turns out to be clusters around Renton, Boeing Field, and Eastgate. So this functionality will continue down to specific building work sites. It's very handy for administrators to keep track of how many Vanpools are going to their specific building locations. All right, let's talk about networks now. Network associations provide much of the under the hood power to the platform by automatically associating users with their networks, primarily by address and work email. They also follow a parent-child relationship displayed by this network tree on the screen. State, regional, jurisdiction, and worksite associations happen automatically based on user addresses. Transportation Management Associations, or TMAs, are also location-based networks that can span multiple localities, such as this example of a Kirkland-Bellevue TMA. They can be set up by zip code, jurisdiction, county, at a statewide level, or even with a geofence. Employer networks are not based on location. Users in this example associate with the Acme Toy Company employer network when a work email address is used. And though less common, administrators can also set employer networks to associate through passcodes, hyperlinks, and administrator approval. So, with a work email, a user living and working in the Seattle store would automatically be associated with the Washington, King County, Seattle, Acme Toy Company, and Acme Toy Company Seattle worksite just by creating their account. And all of that happens in less than 2 minutes. Once that takes place, any trips they record will roll up automatically to all of the networks they're associated with. So let's move on and figure out how to manage networks. When you sign in, you will always be able to identify which network you are managing. As this example shows, we're going to be looking at the Acme Toy Company for this orientation. Most administrators will find that their network has already been created over the last 10 years. And in fact, if you're a new administrator and you do not have a network in place, the support team will have to help you create one. If you have multiple networks to manage, you can search for them in the network section. So thinking about the network tree we just looked at, determine if you're looking for a parent or a child network, and then search by network name. You can filter your results by network type. Here, we're only showing worksite networks. There are a small handful of other network types that are available that were not shown on the tree. What is available in your network will be controlled by which type of network you are managing. And as an administrator, if you want to add for a worksite network or maybe a school or a division network, make sure to search before you create the new network. And feel free to contact support if you have any questions before you move forward with that. Once you find your desired network, all you need to do is select the Manage link, and you will see your currently managing network identifier change. Once you're in your desired network, whether it's to help a user run a report, or send out communication or manage an incentive, simply complete your task and then select the Go Back to Main Administration Application link that's highlighted above. That's all there is to finding and managing networks. One of the most common aspects being a network administrator and working within those networks is helping users who have questions about how to use the system. So let's look at the user section and how it can help you help them. Notice the navigation up at the top. We're now in the user section. We were just in networks. From here, administrators can find and support users or conduct program outreach. You can find users by either selecting Show All Members or using one of the lookup boxes to pull up a list of users by name, email, or their screen name. We won't talk today about registering users and bulk imports. As a self-serve site, users are highly encouraged to create their own account. And again, this can be done in just a short minute or two. Bulk imports are rarely used and require more detail than can be covered today. So if you need help with either of those, feel free to contact the support team and we can walk through what your specific situation might be. So whether you search by name in the lookup box or selecting the Show All Members link, a list of names will be returned. All you need to do is select a user from the return list to view their user details. The user details page will give you basic information about the user and let you perform some basic functions such as resetting their password or unlocking their account. If they have more questions, you may need to select Access User Account to become a proxy for the user and help them with things such as ride matching, using their calendar, or answering reward questions. So let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. Notice the interface changes once you proxy into the user account. This is what is called the dashboard. This is the same view that users see when they first sign in. As an administrator, you'll need to select the dashboard from the left navigation to get to this page. Users can find many quick links on the dashboard. For today's orientation, we're going to refer to the left navigation because that will provide access to anything within the system that the user wants access to. So before we move on to those sections, a few reminders here are important. As far as RSO is concerned, you are now the user, so anything you do here is final. You can always see who you're managing by looking in the upper right. That displays the screen name of the user, and it's also where the return to admin link can be found. Okay, let's select Ride Match from the left nav and start with creating a trip. In the Ride Match section, there are two options, My Trips and Add Trip. We'll start with Add Trip. And from here, a user would just follow the simple prompts. They'll enter in details for the trip, for who they're trying to find a carpool or vanpool. Users, by being more flexible and choosing wider options, such as allowing everyone to see the trip, can improve their chance for matches. Once that's been completed, simply save to store the trip, which can then be accessed underneath the My Trips. From here, it can be either edited or you can find matches. For this example, the user has two trips, one of which is an operating vanpool, which you'll notice does not have the same options as the carpool trip listed below it. This is because vanpool agencies are responsible for managing existing vanpool trips, and users may not edit vanpool trips. So let's select the Find Matches button and see what's available. Before we talk about the matches that will show up, as we just discussed, when you create a trip, the system gives users ways to maximize their chances. By selecting Revise This Search, which is highlighted on the center of the screen, users can choose to see all matches as opposed to employer only. They can also select whether trip time should match. These are the two most impactful ways to broaden a search. So looking at the matches for the trip that was created, we see they have 3 carpool and 8 vanpool matches. Selecting either of those will load all of the matches for that particular mode. It'll provide more details about them, and it will allow users to send a message to learn more and hopefully coordinate a trip. There are a couple notes on differences between these two types of trips. So in Rideshare Online, carpool matches may be an active carpool, or it might be another user trying to start one. All vanpool matches, however, are operating vanpools. So if a vanpool shows up on a user list, that means it's in operation and it matches the criteria for the trip that they created. So that's it for trips. Once trips start to happen, users will want to record them on the calendar. So let's take a look at that. The calendar allows users to record trips to track savings, become eligible for incentives, and depending on the promotion, maybe even have some bragging rights. Networks track trips or recommend that trips be tracked to support non-SOB commuting, fulfill state CTR requirements, and help mitigate parking congestion at work sites. The calendar is simple to use, but it's very powerful. The first 2 steps are where a user will select the mode that they want to record, in this case a bus, confirm some basic details, and select Continue. Once they select Continue, they can then click the day that that trip took place. As long as the trip doesn't change, multiple days can be clicked, one after the other, without requiring them to redo the first 2 steps. Users can go back 28 days in the past to record any trips that were taken, but they cannot record trips into the future. Now, if you remember back where I said how the networks power a lot of the functionality, those automatic network associations mean that any trips that get recorded here will all be saved up to whichever networks the user is associated with. None of that, there's no requirement for any network administrator to filter or make sure that trips are recorded in more than one location or more than one time. So one of the things that trips help power is rewards. So let's take a look at that. The incentive management orientation tomorrow will cover in greater detail how rewards are set up and how they can motivate users with them. Many networks do use reward programs, so administrators can expect questions and should be familiar with what users can see in their account in the site. So as this slide shows, there are a few different aspects to the user view, so we'll look at each. Under their left nav rewards, any available rewards from any network will show, and there can be many of these. All will have high-level details about the reward eligibility criteria. Things like time frame, what mode the reward is for, any requirements or additional information. There's also a progress bar that shows how far along the user is towards achieving that reward. Once a user has won something, they can find more in their reward history. If they're lucky enough to achieve a milestone or be picked in a random drawing, an administrator will contact them and put next steps in their reward history. This is where users can select View Redeem Instructions, which is highlighted on the screen here, to find out how to collect their reward. Redeem instructions are configured by administrators and provide everything they need to do to collect their reward. And again, this will be covered in more detail tomorrow during the incentive management orientation. But as this example shows here, it's to the user, they know which network it's from, and it's got all the information they need to go collect their gift card. In this case, we're showing an example from an electronic gift card. So as a security precaution, the system does not allow administrators to see what the actual redeem code is, which is why it's X'd out on this screen. So that's it for rewards. Now let's go back to the administrator view and we'll look at how you can communicate with everyone in your network. So back in the user section, we can review the program outreach tools, which are circled above. These are short and long posts and email options. We'll look at posts first. Posts are a great way to easily create a quick message users can find on their dashboard. Just select Add Post if there are none currently created, or Edit for an existing post to get started. Add a content and a title, set an end date, upload your graphic, and save the content to launch your post. And then once that's done, here's what the user sees. When they sign into their account and go to their dashboard, the post appears on the right side of the dashboard. Short posts will have a 140 character limit, no graphic, but they can be connected to Twitter. Long posts allow for longer messages and a graphic, as this example shows. One drawback to posts is users must sign into the account to see the post. If you want to reach out to users, email is the best solution. There are two options in user program outreach for emails. Emails can be sent to the entire user group, or emails can be sent to an individual based on when they join the network. Both options load the email editor seen here, where the message can be created and sent. This happens with no need for Outlook or any sort of mailing list. It's all takes place within the system. If emails are sent to individuals based on their user join date, there are 4 options: shortly after they join the network, or at 7, 30, and 90-day intervals. So one example of what you might want to do here would be, say, 7 days after they join, they get a message saying, "Welcome, you've been here about a week. Here are all your transportation benefits. Let us know if you have any questions." Not every network uses the timed feature, but it is very handy for those who do. That's it for email and the users. So let's move on to the final topic for the day, which is reports. Reports are built into the system and provide ability to report out on different categories, all primarily associating with trips. There's user reports, program reports, and incentive program reports. These will help you understand your user commute behavior, measure the impact of incentives and marketing efforts, and report out for organization goals and CTR efforts. Within each group of reports, there are many links, and each of those links will take you to that particular report. All reports generally follow the same functionality. You can run reports by reporting period. Each report will have a header which provides information about the network being reported on, type of report, the period, and when the report was run. Trip data is accessible in the system for up to 2 years. If you are doing any sort of long-term tracking of reports, what you'll want to do is export them to Excel and then store them on a local folder on your internal network. So here's a sample report showing output for the King County Metro Transit Network. This report was generated on August 6th. It's a general alternative transportation program report for the month of July in 2020. Just real quick, we can see that in July, 145 new users joined the network. There were almost 740,000 non-SOV miles that were recorded on the calendar. And the largest group of those trips were telework trips at 27,399 miles, which is not surprising considering the high amount of telework that's happening right now during the COVID pandemic. So there are many different reports that can be generated for each network. I highly encourage you to click around and try all of the reports that are available in your network. That's it for reports. As I said, please do try them out. And speaking of support, if you have questions, as a reminder, today's orientation, it's intended to be a summary that covers the most common aspects of network administration. There are many, literally thousands of networks in Rideshare Online, and so we know that needs vary. The support team is always happy to help with personalized network-specific support, and we can be reached in a couple different ways. You can always email us at support@rideshareonline.com. And during office hours of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, you can reach us at 206-625-4500. The vendor has also created a knowledge base with detailed manuals and help articles that can be found at the link shown on the screen. So that's my portion of the presentation. Again, thank you very much for taking time out to become more familiar with rideshareonline.com. So I'm going to turn it back over to Kayla now and see if we had any questions that came through in the chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason, for walking through. That's a lot of information and some really useful steps there. And again, as Jason said at the beginning, this is recorded and will be available to go back to reference. So if anyone has any questions at this moment, can you please feel free to chat them in the chat box, and then we will address them. And Jason, there is one question for you. And if you could go back to once people find their matches, how does the send message work? So for like a Vanpool, does it get in contact with someone at Rideshare Online to facilitate the Vanpool or in the rideshare services, or does it go to the Vanpool leader?
That's a great question, Kaylin. All Vanpools are considered public transportation, and every Vanpool has a public contact. And when the send message is selected, the message will go directly to the public contact for that Vanpool. Now, sometimes users can find that if Vanpools are full, maybe the public contact isn't as responsive. So in those cases, if that's feedback that you're hearing as a network administrator, contact us, or if you're in a different county, contact the agency for that Vanpool program and let them know. And then the agency will work with that Vanpool group in particular to be more responsive to whoever it is that's trying to reach out to them.
Great, okay. So, and then for folks who might be sending a message to a carpool, how does that work?
Then that message goes directly to whoever created that trip, and it will go to the email address that was used when the account was created.
Great, thank you. Let's see, and I don't see any other questions emerging. Is there anything else people have on their mind? If not, you can always email Jason and his team at support@rideshareonline.com or give them a call. And with that, I thank you all for joining us today. Again, this will be posted online on King County Metro's website. And you can also look at the school pool webpage for other videos on rideshareonline.com. Jason, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
I am good. I just thank you to everyone again for showing up, and have a nice rest of the day.
Great. Well, thank you. I will end the meeting for you all, and I hope you all can stay cool. Bye-bye.
Thank you.